everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first lunch break with OneBookShelf. I am here with Adriel, and we are going to be talking about today in OneBookShelf 101, some basics for new publishers. We're going to go all the way back to the bare bones of starting a new publisher account with us and some tips and tricks. We hope to be doing this in the future, and we'll expand on all the different tools we have. But this is a really good refresher too for our veteran publishers as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll get started because we have a lot to cover. So I am Meredith Gerber. I am the DriveThruRPG Century Publisher Relations Representative. That means I take care of the top 100 publishers that are on DriveThruRPG. And this is...
Hi, I'm Adriel Wilson. I am the independent publisher representative here at DriveThruRPG, and I'm the person who answers your emails when you email publisher services.
And they have been here for how long?
I've been here since August. And it's been awesome because I love RPGs, I love DriveThru, and it's so cool to get to interact with all of these indie designers and help them get their work out into the world. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And what's nice too is you have all that fresh information, so you get to experience all that, which is really, really good.
Yes.
So before we get started, one thing is that this works well across all of our sites. So if you are joining us for DriveThru Fiction or DriveThru Comics, this is kind of the same process. We will touch a little bit on community content, as we know we have some creators out there who are watching. So we'll discuss that too. Yeah. So I say we just jump right into it. For those who are joining us for the very first time ever in the history of the world, OneBookShelf is our umbrella company. That is DriveThruRPG, DriveThru Fiction, DriveThru Cards, DM's Guild, Storytellers Vault, and more. I know I'm not going to get all of them. War Game Vault, yeah, too. Yep. So we have a ton. But Adriel and I work on the DriveThruRPG side. So let's get started. So this is the homepage. Everyone is probably familiar with this, whether you're a customer or a new publisher or a current publisher. And one of the things is when you are ready to make a publisher account, you have your awesome new title, and it's ready to go. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, are you a publisher or are you a community content creator? Because they are two different things. If you are a community content creator, you would scroll down to the bottom, same place where we're going to have where you can make your publisher account. And you would click create content for your favorite games. And that will open up this section. This is our list of community content programs. We have a lot. So if you haven't checked them out yet, we definitely suggest it. Our big one is Dungeon Masters Guild, or DM's Guild for short. And that is its own separate site. So if you click there, it'll take you where you need to go. But with that in mind, the thing about being a creator is you do everything on your customer account. So you do not need to make a publisher account. Adriel, did you want to add to that?
I do, because basically when you're creating content for community programs, you are not acting as a publisher in that sense. The people who publish the game that you're creating content for that system, they're the folks who count as the publisher. So that's why you would publish from your customer account. And for folks out there who are specifically interested in Dungeons and Dragons, I definitely recommend reading the pages on our site about the DM's Guild so you understand what fits in that world and what fits in the world of the open gaming license. So thank you, Meredith.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. So that is kind of the big thing. A lot of times I know Adriel runs into it where they'll get something for, say, Savage Worlds Adventures League or Swag, and they're trying to do it from a publisher account, which we have to say, hey, you got to move it. You got to do it over on your customer account. So definitely pay attention with that. And if you're not sure, you're always welcome to ask us. We'll put all of our information down and also show you how to get to our Discord as well. But so that is that. I'm going to close that tab out. So you got your new title. It is not community content. You're 100% sure. The link you're going to click is how to sell on DriveThruRPG. And so it takes you to the splash page. And what you can do is you can learn more about DriveThru. It's kind of our timeline, essentially, and the benefits. And you can just quickly return to publisher information as well. Quality printing. So if you were looking to print your title, we do have print on demand for both cards and books as well. And this kind of just goes over those print services. So those are what those two tabs are. The one you also want to look into is digital sales. This kind of breaks down why you should be selling with us. It's not just getting your title up there. We have a lot of tools available for promotion. We have it where you put your title up and then your funds automatically happen. Which we'll break down into in a couple more sessions. But if you wanted to kind of get a brief overview of what we offer, you'll be able to find it there.
So let's say you've created your publisher account and you want a different publisher name, or there was a typo. Don't create a second publisher account. Email us. We'll be talking about how to contact us, as Meredith mentioned. But once you get in there and you've created the account and you see that little publish at the top of your screen, where you can see at the top of Meredith's screen right now, just get in touch with us if there's anything you want to change. It's a lot easier than trying to merge two accounts together later.
Yes. Okay, so you click the Get Started. Obviously, I'm into admin, so they'll show up. So the first thing that you're going to see is the account type. That's exclusive versus non-exclusive. Exclusive has benefits to it, aside from 70%. You also get to essentially have an enhanced title rotation. So on our main page, we have exclusive to DriveThruRPG. Also bonus on-site promotion. So anytime you're looking to promote your new stuff, we tend to help, we help both, but we really look into for exclusive and all the things that we can offer. So it's just a little bit better in that regard. But we understand that people do want to sell elsewhere. That's completely understandable. And so we have non-exclusive, which is 65%. And the biggest thing are 2 points. One, this applies to digital titles only. So if you are going to sell with us exclusively digital, but you're going to have all of your, print on demand stuff everywhere, that's fine. That doesn't mean that you can't be exclusive with us. We also allow too that if you have your own website, you can still be exclusive if you're selling on your very own website. So not a third-party seller, but at your very own website, and us, you can still remain exclusive. And we just ask that the release dates are the same. We ask that the prices are the same outside of sales. Obviously, if you have a big sale on your website, that's fine. But preferably keeping those numbers the same is very helpful. So, yeah.
And again, if you've signed up and you've chosen exclusive or non-exclusive and you've thought about it and you want to switch, we can help you with that. Just get in touch with us. And the benefits, not only are they outlined here, but they're outlined in our publisher knowledge base, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And that is where you can find the answers to so many of your questions.
Absolutely. So after you have chosen, we're going to create an exclusive publisher account. And it's going to run you down again on what the exclusivity means, what your earnings are. Like I said, that 70% versus 65%. And you can choose to be paid either by check or PayPal. Those are 2 offers that we have.
And I had a very nice publisher the other day asking me specifically about this agreement, because one of their questions was like, what does this really mean when I'm also trying to get my titles into the hands of publishers and doing that work for me. So DriveThruRPG is not a publisher. You are the publisher when you sign up for the account. So the agreement you're making with us is about the content that you are publishing. If someone else is publishing your work for you, their agreement with us is separate from yours.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a really, really good point. And if you, as always, if you have any questions for us, we are more than happy to go over them.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Okay, so you would read through this. And again, if you have any questions, literally just message us and we'll explain it to you. Not a problem. So I agree. Publisher name. Meredith and Adriel are great. Set up publisher account. Tech's going to be very confused by this. But so what just happened though is we are with this is Adriel is going to get once we're done, is going to get a message that's going to say, hey, this publisher account's been created. Here's the contact information. And that's really helpful because Adriel will reach out to you and get you started, which is really, really nice. These payment settings are not final. So if you are like, I want to be paid by PayPal 100%, and then you're like, no, I want to be paid by check, which gets sent out the 15th of the month, every month. PayPal, you can choose to automatically, this is later, automatically be paid at the top of the month or do it manually, completely up to you.
Yep.
I don't know why Google Translate's happening. Okay. And that's what we said, like either cash it out manually or pay automatically at the end of the month. And then pay automatically at the end of the month, you can also put a minimum to, which is nice. So if you have a certain amount that you want to be cashed out, that's great too.
And you'll see in the email box above that Meredith's OneBookShelf email is there because all publisher accounts are associated with customer accounts. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, oh, I've created an email address just for my publishing account, you're still going to want to use your current customer account to create your publisher account. You'll be able to add that publisher email in your publisher settings. So you can keep your account and all your purchases and have a publisher account.
Absolutely. So, and that's important too, because a lot of times we will have clients say, hey, I want to add, my layout designer onto the account. We can't do that unless there is a customer account already created. So, because if we try to do that, it'll say like error, this doesn't exist. So make sure you have that created before. So.
Yes.
Logo and your website URL. So this will be customer facing. You can absolutely skip this if you'd like and do it later. That's perfectly fine. But that option is there for you.
Yeah, it's if you get past this point and are like, oh no, I didn't upload my logo, it is okay. Like Meredith said, there's a page where we'll show you later that you can update all of this information.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is now having it where it won't let me go further because I already have a publisher account. So that's okay. But what will happen on the next page is it essentially says like, congratulations, like, and then that starts your publisher account. And so when that happens, you'll see this magic tab show up. It is called the Publish tab. Publish tab and the Account tab are two very different tabs. The Account tab, as we discussed, that is your customer account. So that is where all your community content goes. Or if you're just a customer with us, that's where that goes. The Publish tab will show up though once you have a publisher account.
Yeah.
So I'm signed into OneBookShelf, which is us, which is great. So the big thing here is that this is what is called your publisher hub or your pub hub. You'll hear Adriel and I essentially switch depending. But anytime we're like, hey, what are you seeing on your pub hub? Or hey, it's this tool in the pub hub. This is what the pub hub is. Right when you get here, in very, very large letters, is our publisher knowledge base. Our publisher knowledge base, we are actually currently working on sprucing it up currently, but it has a lot of questions that especially Adriel gets that can be answered pretty quickly, and it's all organized onto what you're looking for specifically. It's basically lined up with what the tools are. So if you have, any questions, that's perfectly fine. Like, check there first. If you can't find it, no big deal, let us know. But a lot of times we are pushing publishers to this page, especially for our print on demand program.
And something about the publisher knowledge base that folks might not know is that we update it all the time. Like, if an issue arises that maybe isn't as clear as it could be, or needs to be explained in another way, we are making edits to those pages so that you guys have the most up-to-date information. I get a lot of questions about, shipping and delays with COVID stuff. And there are notes on our site pretty much everywhere. And please know that we are keeping those as up to date as they can be. So if something changes, we are going to make sure you all know about it.
And that goes too with any site issues we have. You'll always see at the top, you won't see this, but a call out box essentially where we put any information. So if you're experiencing something or we have a big change, we will definitely put it there. We also send out a publisher newsletter, when I remember to, once a month, that kind of gives a breakdown of hey, here's some new things coming out. And if you have a publisher account, you will receive that email. So don't worry, that'll be there. If you're not receiving that email, please let us know so we can investigate.
Yes.
So the first thing that we want to look into is setting up a new title, which is under title management. So you got your super awesome RPG, you're ready to go. Everything is pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to go over a couple important points here.
Yes.
And then hopefully we'll stop at 12:40 my time. See if we can we're getting a lot of questions in, so I want to make sure we get to those.
Yes.
All right. So right off the top is use a template. So what that means is if you've created a title before, you can kind of copy and paste it in. If you select essentially any of these, what'll happen is it'll generate all that metadata. So you can obviously skip this if you're doing something totally different. That's perfectly fine too. Title, self-explanatory. Authors, self-explanatory, separated with commas. The one thing I will say is when you are doing your authors and your artists, if they are already on DriveThru, find out what they are listed as, because a lot of times it happens where we get authors to reach out to us or artists and they say, hey, I'm not credited here. That's happened with me where they've used my middle initial instead of just Meredith Gerber, and then it doesn't show because it's not exact. So just a minor thing to note.
Because when you're putting names in there and you're separating with them with a comma, what you're doing is creating a searchable entry in our database, essentially. So that's why you really want to check those names and make sure they're correct so that folks can look at who your authors are, look at who your artists are, and then click on those names to find other products that they've been credited on.
Absolutely. Number of pages, if you can put that in there, it'd be super great, because a lot of times customers aren't sure, are they paying $24 for, a 10-page book or a 100-page book? What's the difference? Yeah. So that's super important too. Price. So we have pay what you want, which is exactly what it sounds like. The nice thing about pay what you want is customers can go in and they can say, hey, I'm going to buy this for $1. And they say, oh my gosh, this RPG is the best. They can go back and say, I want to pay $20 for this instead, which is nice. So you can choose to do pay what you want. There is over, I'm trying to get to it. And of course, there we go. So we have also a blog, which we will put the links in as well, in the information below. But there is a fantastic pricing guide. This pricing guide was created by Scott Holden, who is our marketing expert. and kind of breaks down those prices. If you're unsure after you've read it and you say, I don't know like what I should price this as, you can always ask us. We're more than happy to help you. That's not a problem. And that's medium.com/OneBookShelf.
And let me tell you, like, that blog is chock full of very, very useful information, especially for folks in the indie publishing world. Like, that information on pricing was like eye-opening for me, even though I've been publishing RPGs for a while now. I was just like, oh, I didn't know some of this stuff. So highly recommend you check it out.
Mm-hmm. And also the other suggestion I give publishers is find a title that is similar to yours in size and like what is being offered, and you can kind of figure it out from there. So, but again, you can always ask too. So your product page text is one of the most important things that you are about to fill out. Yes, you can, we have a new tool here, which is you can drag and drop images. We used to have it where you could link from like different, essentially hosting sites, and thank you to tech, they have this where you can just drag and drop it where it just automatically will go in there and generate, which is great. And we also don't allow outside links. We have essentially a list of where you can link to, and you can check that out if you want to link to it. But you're more than welcome to link to your other titles. That's 100% fine. In the example that I'm going to show later of what's a really good title, it'll be able to see that. In your description, you should be explaining to the customer what they're buying, like what's in the title. Any information that you think would be beneficial to a customer is good. Even if you're doing stock art, you want to say like, hey, this is commercial or this is non-commercial. This is, full color. All that information is very important. So a lot of times, like we'll get stock artist video or stock art. They'll just say stock art of an elf.
Yep.
That's factual, but what else are we getting with it? Because you want it to be enough information where the customer feels essentially comfortable buying because they know what they're getting into.
Yes. And I always recommend to our publishers to include your license right there in the product description, even if it's included in the product files. And the reason I do that is we don't want someone taking your art and misusing it because they didn't know what was okay and what wasn't based on what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So another suggestion, how we said with the pricing, is if you're unsure about a good description, check out our site. See ones that are really, really cool. I, for one, love seeing like art pieces. If you have art in there, like that's really cool. And we also have other options too that you can do with your description, which we'll go over. Cover image, pay attention to this block of text, because if your cover image is not loading, it is probably because something is wrong here. So pretty straightforward. Cover images are very important. We always encourage that you really make it stand out. We don't expect everyone to have this like full-blown color fantasy art with like bold, ridiculous text. But if you turn in something that's black text on a white background, that's going to get lost and people are probably not going to be too interested in it. So try to look for essentially even simple titles. You look at Traveler. Traveler's a very, very simple cover in terms of like it's a logo, it's an art piece, and boom, it's done. And that works really well. So just something to be mindful of. I know, Adriel, we've gone back and forth about covers before. Yeah.
So if your cover is like simply black text on a white page or even a color page, I'm probably going to come back to you and ask you to change it a little bit. You want something that's going to make your product look different than every other product, and also give folks looking at it something to hang on to, because that cover image is the thing that's going to stick with them the most.
Absolutely. Audio products. We do have audio products. That is a thing. So if it is an audio product, definitely click that.
I looked at a product the other day. It was so cool. It was like a game, and they had included some pieces of art, and they had included MP3s to listen to while you were playing the game. And it was so
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Very cool. That's super awesome. That's another idea you can take from this lunch break, is get some MP3s. So filters. You will have subcategories if you set those up. And then your regular filters. So, we cannot express to you. Oh, Adriel, God, we totally cut you off. But we cannot express to you.
Say the same thing.
Yep. We cannot express to you how important it is that you pick the right filters. The reason for this is because if you say you created something for Apocalypse World, okay, and you're clicking Cyberpunk and Dungeons and Dragons and all these things, it sounds like you might get more exposure, like in different filters, but more so customers are going to be very confused. And then they contact us and say, why is this in D&D? It's not a D&D title. So just pick the filters that are relevant to you. And if you don't know, you can email us. Yeah. Go ahead, Adriel.
A great question to ask yourself is, do I need Savage Worlds to play my supplement or my title? Do I need Shadowrun for what I'm putting up? Just because something is similar to your title or in the same space doesn't mean you should click on those rule systems. Like, that's my sort of like recommendation when I'm emailing publishers. I always say, you know, if you don't need this system to play your title, you shouldn't use it for a filter.
Mm-hmm. And Adriel will be double checking your filters anyway.
Yep.
So less work for Adriel too, so they don't have to write you and say, hey, this is not a D&D title. So that's very important. Same goes for like the product type as well. And these little arrows will also break them down into subcategories as well, which is good. Genre. Sometimes we have games that are going to have a lot of genres to it, but just pick the ones that are good for you. This also helps us too when we run sales. Like, we just ran a Halloween sale and we pulled from the horror filter. And so that helps us because we say, hey, all these titles are horror, as opposed to, hey, like, this is not a horror title at all. You know what I mean? And it gets, again, confusing to the customers. So it's very important. And these all have subcategories as well too.
Yeah.
Format. Most publishers will be using PDF, but we do have different options as well. And when we go over uploading a title, uploading your file, which will probably be in the future, you'll be able to see like all the different formats that we have. We offer quite a bit, and including 3D models, which we do offer. But yeah, mostly going to be PDF. Phone PDF is something that we started, it feels like 14 years ago, and I'm pretty sure it was 14 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it was just this year or last year. But phone PDF is exactly what it sounds like. We launched that with Onyx Pass Pugmire, which was great. So you can scroll down your phone. Languages, pretty self-explanatory for the most part.
Yep. And please do use our language filters, because we do have a lot of titles that are not in English, and it's very useful for folks who are like, I'm looking for a game in Russian, to be able to find all of our titles in Russian in one place when they're using that filter to search.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Making it easy for the customer. Essentially, as you're building this, you're making it easier for the customer to find you.
Yeah.
PDF source. Not going to be a situation I think that Adriel's publishers will run into. My publishers run into it more so. such as Chaosium. Chaosium has very, very old books that are scanned images. If you run into this, it is very important you select which one it is, because a lot of times customers will expect it to be this like glorious, PDF, super sharp, everything, but it's a scanned image. So it's very, very important. Again, don't think new publishers will run into that, but I could be wrong. So definitely pay attention to that. Add watermark. We used to have it where watermark was the default. And now it is no longer the default. The reason for that is because it bogged down our servers a lot when people watermarked it. You can choose to add it if you'd like. It's completely up to you. What a watermark does for PDFs is it will show on the bottom, usually it'll say like order number and then my name. So that'll be there if you'd like. It's completely up to you, but not required. You can disallow copy and paste if you'd like, and disallow printing if you'd like. That's completely up to you. It's off by default because we have a lot of customers who might want to run local FedEx and print out their adventure, right before they start their game.
Please note that you can't click on those options unless you select the watermark, because that's how our system is adding the information that tells the PDF that it can't be copy pasted from or can't be printed.
Correct. Previews, also important.
So important.
So very important. So we have 3 types of previews, only 2 are shown here. The first 2 is quick preview. So it's like a flip book. It's very cool. And I'll show it in the example I have. And then full PDF preview, which we do have a big watermark on that says sample. So people aren't going to screenshot your stuff.
Nope.
Even if they were going to, it's got a massive watermark on there. But that's up to you if you'd like to enable those. I will tell you, customers are 10 times more likely to buy your products if you choose preview, and pick good pages too. That's the other thing, is a lot of times people will just like have their table of contents, and that really doesn't help much. So when you get to the preview section, there is an option that you can upload your own preview. We have that happen with a few of our publishers where they'll take out like bits and pieces as opposed to having it go from first page to last page. And which is great, because if you want to take out the cool stuff, and put it into a PDF, you can do that.
Yeah.
Optional information. You can schedule your release date, which is pretty cool. Here is a note about scheduling a release date. When you schedule a release date, if Adriel and I made this super cool RPG and we want to launch Monday, and Adriel's like, oh no, I've made it public on accident, that doesn't exist. So make sure if you have a scheduled release date, don't make the title public, even if it's on accident, because that, as soon as it goes public, that's what goes into our system.
Right.
So
it overrides the date that you've nicely selected because you've worked on your marketing campaign and you want it to come out on that day. Don't make it live. It will come out on that day.
Yes. So
now,
and remember,
sorry, is this feature available to all publishers, or do they need to be verified before they can schedule a release date?
That's a great question, Adriel. I think you ran into that last week, didn't you?
I did. I think
what happened?
So publishers need to be verified to use this feature. We're going to talk about verification in great detail in a different show. But the basics are, if you're new to our site, we're not going to give you full access to all the tools until we know you know how to use them. And that's part of what the review process is. It's so that we can be there to help you make your titles look the best they can and be the most attractive they can be to customers. So that's part of why there's some tools you might not be able to access right away. But obviously, if you have questions about those tools, or if you're like, hey, I made this big plan and I was really hoping that my book could go live on X date, talk to us. We are always here to help when we can.
Absolutely. Astro module ID is very new, even for myself. So we're going to skip over that because that is super, super new. Astral being being our tabletop virtual partner. Yeah, with more stuff coming. So if you want to check them out, you absolutely can.
We'll definitely do an episode talking about Astral and like what you need to get your modules on there and all that juicy stuff. But today we're like, we got to focus on the basics.
Got to focus up.
Yeah.
So stock number, optional. Some of our publishers do use that. If you need a stock system, that's perfectly fine. ISBN, if you have it, you put it in there. Stock or sort. I'm saying stock so much. I'm like, stock. Sort priority is how your titles are prioritized on your main publisher page. You can leave this as is if you don't want to sit through and shift. But we do have publishers who might want, you know, the core RPG that like is super huge be number one, and you can do that through the sort priority, 0 being the highest. So that option is there. Adult product. Is it adult? We have in our publisher knowledge base, we do kind of have a breakdown of what constitutes an adult product. If you are unsure, let us know because we are more than happy to go over that with you. It is on a case-by-case basis, but we'll look with you together. So what happens with that is we do have a option for customers to say, hey, I don't want to see adult titles. So that's, or some customers that do. So it's entirely up to the customer what they want, but that option is there.
A quick tip, if there's nudity in your book, it's adult.
Yeah. Yep, it is. It's 100% adult. So purchase note is the note that customers receive when they buy your product. So just so you know, you can say, hey, thank you so much for buying this. And you can put whatever links you want. So in our description, we say no outside links, purchase notes, whatever you want. You can say, hey, follow me on, you know, Instagram or Twitter, join our Discord. Don't even care. All that information goes in the purchase note. So we do offer it in that regard.
Yeah.
Video URL, we have it where a lot of publishers will have like how it's played or reviews, anything like that. You are more than welcome to put that video URL in and it'll embed into it, which is great. Do you have any follow-up points before I show a very great example?
No, I think you should do that, and then we can answer the questions we've gotten so far.
I'm excited. Thank you, everyone, for asking us questions. All right. Yeah. So I'll be using Posthuman Studios Eclipse Phase 2nd Edition. Posthuman Studios is one of my clients, and they're pretty great. So as you can see, we kind of talked about that publisher preview. So they have made their own preview, which is great. So we talked about that a little bit, essentially, how you can make a publisher preview where you take out the bits that you want as opposed to picking from a range. So that's why that is there. We got a good cover.
Yeah.
Shows me exactly what it is. And then this is a good description. The reason I picked this is because it is a very good description for multiple reasons. Reason number one, this tells me exactly what I'm buying. Like, what is Eclipse Phase? It has these graphics as well to see what the inside looks like for layout. And there's more pieces as well. This is also a really good tactic is, if you're doing essentially what's new, you can kind of do it a bolded list. You can even do that for a not new, edition. You can say, hey, this is what it's in. Like, this is good for level 5 to 10 characters. This is good for this. This is important in this regard because they're explaining the difference, essentially. Okay. Put your awards in. If you got an award for something, put it in there. Please feel free to put it in there. That's super, super important. Because you should show off how cool your RPG is. Absolutely.
And if you noticed, you might not have, it's okay. When Meredith expanded the list of allowed links, the ENI awards were in there. So are you an independent publisher who submits to the ENIs every year? Did you win an award? Put it on your description. That's going to help sell your book.
Absolutely. And so the last thing that I love that Posthuman does is they link all of their other titles. So that essentially would work. You don't have to do this, but it's helpful in that regard because you can kind of see, okay, like I got second edition, awesome. There's like a bunch of other titles I can grab. And customers tend to do this where they'll buy a thing, love the thing, and they want to buy all the things. So that's a really, really smart thing. This bar will show up to customers who bought this title also purchased, which is kind of neat because you can kind of see how customers buy. And this bottom is very important for two reasons. One, your reviews. You get to see what people think of your book, which is really, really awesome. Customers can either rate it or they can rate and explain why they love it, which is really awesome. We also have a discussion tab. We do not allow for customers to contact publishers, so because that would be a lot, but they're more than welcome to absolutely go in the discussions. We always say that you should be checking these because a lot of times people will be like, hey, when's the print coming out? Hey, I don't understand how this power works. Can you explain it to me? It's very, very good to respond to those. You don't have to respond to every single one of them because a lot of times customers will answer other customers, which is great. But it's good to check on those. And also good for customers too, because if they have a question, they can say, hey, is this in the discussion? Yep, it's already there. So.
And that I think is a really great lead into our questions, if that's okay with you, Meredith.
Let's do it.
Yes, because Geek Native just asked, privacy versus contact. Do we have best practices for letting customers contact publishers directly? And the answer is no. We put that discussion feature there so that your customers can get a hold of you. Now, you as a publisher have the option in that purchase notes field to put some kind of contact. You could put your website, you could put your Facebook page, you could put your Twitter, your Patreon. But from our point of view, that's your choice. We're protecting your information as best we can. So up to you. And if you're looking for a recommendation, Geek Native, if you do have a place where your design work is prevalent, like a website or something, definitely direct folks there. But again, you don't have to. So
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is too, is this is Banjo, who's making an appearance today. He's pretty great. But the thing that also is, it happens sometimes where a customer will say, hey, I have a question for the publisher. And we essentially play middleman for that, middle person for that, where we go ahead and contact the publisher and we say, hey, customer has a question. That's why we have a customer service team. So that's also important too. We will contact you if there's customer questions or if there's an issue with your title, what have you.
Yep.
So, I got to pull up the questions.
So why don't I read them and then we can answer them together? Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So our first question was from Scott Locke. If I set up a publisher account and start earning money, do I have to declare this income as taxable? How does that work? So we are not tax people. We are not accountants. There is an article on our publisher knowledge base about taxes. The short answer is, if you make income, you should declare it. But there are so many exceptions to that I don't think we're really comfortable making a recommendation. I highly recommend checking out our publisher knowledge base and doing a little bit more research, talk to other designers and see what they're doing.
Yeah, when it hits a certain amount, we will send out a 1099 every year, but it has to hit a certain amount. I don't know that amount off the top of my head because it used to be 600, and then I think we recently changed it. But that's important because there is a section in your publisher account information where you're going to put in your information for taxes. But yeah, our publisher knowledge base is best for that because there's a lot of exceptions, and also like, how does that work with community content? So that's in there.
Yeah. Then our next question from Greedy Goblin 69. Can you publish through DriveThruRPG and DMs Guild at the same time? Yes.
Yep. As long as it's going to the right place. So,
yep. And it can't be the same content.
Yeah. The other thing too is our community content programs. Once they are on there, that's where they stay. So you can't, it's not going to work like that. The other thing that's important too about community content programs is that if you do it through your publisher account, which you shouldn't, you should do it through your customer account. If you do it through your publisher account, and say you put a DMs Guild title at, the issue with that is it's not going to show up on DMs Guild. It'll show up on DriveThru. But at which point you'll send it in and then Adriel will see it and say, hey, this is not where it's supposed to be. So,
I won't let you.
But you can have both if you're creating two different pieces of content, essentially. If you're creating a DMs Guild title, it goes in the customer account DMs Guild title. If you're like, here's my super cool RPG about cats, that would go on your publisher account. But you can have both. That is perfectly fine. The big difference between that is the publish tab at the top right, and then the account tab, which is your customer account versus your publisher account.
And I think that sort of answers the next question we have from Scott Locke. Do I use my publisher account to publish new titles for community content, even though community titles belong to the publisher who owns the IP? So no.
Heck no.
You use your customer account to publish community content.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And then Greedy Goblin 69 again, what resources are available to use art with permission other than DMs Guild? We have a whole filter for it.
Let's go to it. Let's go to it.
And honestly, all of you out there, I'm just going to call you friends because that's what I wanted to do initially.
Friends are good.
Yeah. So friends, there is some amazing art available on DriveThruRPG, and it is reasonably priced, easy to use, and it's a super great resources, especially for indie publishers. Like, check out the section Meredith's going to show us, and you'll be able to illustrate more books than you could even make in a year or whatever.
Yeah, it's so good. And the thing is too, is you have some people give packs too, which is great. Mm-hmm. Here is a really good example of a stock art listing because it shows you exactly what the preview is, what you're getting, how big it is, things like that. But yeah, so on the left side, product type, publisher resources, stock arts. And then you can choose it by type, you can choose it by subject or by license, which is really, really nice. So yeah.
All right. So from ScribeMind, I know folks in the workshop are curious about how to make their title pages more accessible. What options are there for alt text when adding images and graphical assets to the listings?
So that's a good question and something we should bring up to tech support. So thank you, ScribeMind. Really appreciate that suggestion because we should have that 100%.
Yeah.
All right.
And then from J. Corvin Stevens, if I initially upload a PDF, can I easily change that later to include a print version?
Yep.
You 100%. Sure can.
120%. You absolutely can do that.
And we're going to talk about that in great detail in another show.
Yep, absolutely. So, and the thing is too, is people ask sometimes, like, should I release both at the same time? I always say yes, but if you're like, we're not going to put a print version out until like we see if it sells well, that's perfectly fine. A print option is separate from the digital option entirely, but you absolutely can do that. And we have, like I said, we have that sometimes where people want to see if it's worth, putting in the time and the effort of doing. which will be good. So we'll go over all the print options and stuff. We have lots of fun, amazing print options.
Yeah. And then last question from Geek Native. I've seen publishers and community content creators whacking affiliate codes on their links, even in their shelf page. Is that naughty behavior?
No, absolutely not. You absolutely
we want
can.
You to, like, we want you
to.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we have a couple minutes. I can quickly rush down here for affiliate. Our affiliate system costs no money. All you have to do is definitely all the steps are here. Essentially, you're going to email our marketing expert, Scott, who is super great. And once you do that, what's really nice about this page is it shows the affiliate ID that you have. So this is not a random number. This is my number. So, which is good. And the affiliate program is great because how it works is if I have this super cool RPG, Meredith and Adriel super cool RPG, and you can join the affiliate program, which again, the other thing too is you have to get approved in the affiliate program before this makes sense because it won't work. You'll get no money. So please follow the steps. But the affiliate program, though, if someone clicks on my link, so much cat hair. If someone clicks on my link and they're like, you know what, I don't want to buy Adriel and Meredith's super cool RPG. I want to buy Pugmire. You still get the credit for that because they clicked my, I get the credit for it because you clicked my link. So it doesn't matter essentially what title they choose. If they go through your link, that's it. You get the affiliate credit for that. Affiliate credit's super easy too. You just tack it onto the link and you can do it all over the place, wherever you want. It's just an easy way to get credit, and also it's awesome. So I love it personally. And then, it's accredited to we have to update that screenshot. But it's accredited to your account. So you can then turn around and say, I want to buy all these books. I got so much money from using affiliate links. So that is very important. And we always encourage publishers to do it because absolutely they should. That should not be something that they shouldn't do. That's what the affiliate program's like. So, So that's a quick overview. We can probably do a deeper dive, definitely, for and have Scott on to go over that with all kinds of things. So but it's a really good thing. So so that's pretty exciting. So that's pretty much the big thing with setting up a title. And like we said, this is where it comes down to the filters too. And sometimes, customers just want to see one of these depending on what they want, or they might want to look into different formats, things like that. And like I said, what's important is pick the right filters. Very important. Have a super awesome cover photo.
Yeah.
Super great. But that's that. So, so some future topics that we're going to have for OBS 101 is we're going to go over these tools in more detail, especially because we have so many. And a lot of times people, you can click this question mark and it'll tell you a rundown of the tool, but we can expand on that a little bit more. Some big ones, we're going to try to get Pauline, who is our production manager, to come in and talk about laying out books because it is a lot. And they're very, very knowledgeable of it, so they can give some tips and tricks as well. And of course, like I said, promotions we'll definitely talk about with Scott because having that sales information is very important too. There's so many things on our sites that, and even too with DMs Guilds and our community content sites, I know that Lysa and Jack could talk for days about DMs Guild. So we will have a lot of those topics coming up in the future. And of course, too, we will be putting all of these on our YouTube. So if you are watching this late or missed the, you know, first 10 minutes of it, we're going to try to get those up within the week. That way it's accessible for everybody as well. So yeah, those are the big things. The other very important note too, I wanted to cover is because every week our things are going to change. So this week it's OneBookShelf 101. Next week is going to be Learn to Play, and our team will be playing Afterlife Wandering Souls. So we definitely suggest checking it out, because if you haven't played the game, they literally are playing the game for the first time, and they're going to go through it together, which is really rad.
So excited.
I'm excited. So we will go ahead and wrap up. Thank you everyone so much for joining us, first of all, whether you're joining on Twitch or you are checking us out on YouTube. If you want to follow us, we are DTRPG on Twitter, and then DriveThruRPG on Facebook. If you are a new publisher, there's a handy link here called check out our publisher Discord, because we do have a Discord. Although we check it once a day, most of the publishers on there are super been like with,
they're awesome.
They're awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
All of them are amazing, but we have ones who are very knowledgeable, who can help out if we can't help, you know, if you're like, hey, super quick question. But the best way to get in contact with us is publisher service email to get into chatting.
And the folks on our Discord knew that they were going to get to see at least 2 pets. So you get a preview of what might happen in our shows.
Yeah, also that. I have another cat that might show up. You know, Adriel has another dog as well. So it's always a fun time. So and then obviously, you know, our website information. So Adriel, where can people find you?
So people can find me via that lovely publisher service email link. If you have a question specifically about DriveThru, I am literally here to help you. Drop me an email and I will answer it as quickly as I can. If you're looking for me as a human being and game designer, you can find me on Twitter at ReindeerB. Yes, at ReindeerB.
Awesome. Very good.
And where can people find you, Meredith?
They can find me on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at Meredith Gerber, Instagram at Meredith A. Gerber, because somebody stole my handle. And my website is, if you are looking for graphic design or photography or website design, is meredithgerber.com. So I mean, those are the big ones. And of course, I want to give a special thanks to Jack, our moderator, who is the DMs Guild Publisher Relations Rep, and our super secret hidden right now tech magician, Lysa Penrose, who is DMs Guild brand manager. So anytime you're talking on DMs Guild, you are talking to Lysa. And those should be, I think we thanked everybody and you for the people at home. So thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Thank you. And like I said, definitely check out next week, because they're doing Learn to Play and it's going to be super fun. And we will see you next time. All right. Bye.